I like to share with you how you can create compost in just a matter of a month or two using chickens and just food scraps from your kitchen. As you can see behind me right here in the chicken run, I've got a 4-foot fire ring. It's about 12 inches high. You can use anything. I prefer using something circular because when we put the food scraps inside this fire ring, it kind of keeps things from getting trapped in a corner if you were to use a square. You can use wood, you can use any material you want. The idea here is to keep everything in a small location so that the chickens can work through it and really get some good compost going in this small little fire ring. And right here I have just random things from our kitchen scraps. I've got eggs, egg shells, lettuce, some onions, cucumber peelings, things that are food scraps essentially that we feed the chickens so that it also helps get rid of their food costs a little bit, or at least lessen their food costs from the farm store. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this inside this ring right here, and you're going to see how fast they want to go in here and eat this food. And it keeps it concentrated in one spot instead of the chickens spreading everything all over the chicken run. Therefore, the compost can break down much faster rather than just randomly putting this in this chicken run. So they're already eating something in there. This is where we always put our scraps for them. Not their chicken feed, but just their scraps. And I just dump this all over in this circle here. And they'll come back in here in a matter of no time and start scratching around and working a little bit in here. They're eating eggs right now, egg shells. They love eating that stuff. Hey everybody, my name is Corey. If you're new to Together We Harvest, welcome. I'm glad you're here. If it's your first time, our little homestead of 7 acres that we purchased back in 2019 is just a small scale homestead of self-reliance, whether that's wood heat, chickens either for meat or for eggs, creating compost to feed our garden back there. Most of the produce we eat throughout the year does come from a small, humble 20 by 40 garden. And the idea of this channel is to show you how you can have a full-time job like I do and 2 part-time jobs and raise a family and still make this work because it's scalable. One of the reasons why this garden behind me is so successful is because of the chickens that happen to be in the chicken run right next to the garden. All of the manure and the compost that the chickens create and lay down in the chicken run next to the garden gets put back on these raised beds in the garden behind me every fall before winter. It's no secret that the best gardens have the best soil, and I often get asked, probably more than anything else, is what's the secret to your success as a gardener and having such amazing gardens every single year? And it's not that we're really smart or better than other people, it's just that we focus on having the best soil possible, and that happens because of the chickens next to this garden. Let's take a moment and just pan around the chicken run here. Every single thing right here is compost. There's wood chips, dried grass clippings, leaves that we pick up and mulch behind the lawnmower every fall from all of these mature trees we have on the homestead here. We put that in here and the chickens drop the manure, till it up or scratch up a little bit, and then underneath this top layer basically is compost that can go in the garden right over there. The reason why we like to use this ring is it confines everything rather than having everything get spread out, because that takes a lot longer to break down. If you're continually putting dried grass clippings, leaf mulch, wood chips if you have access to them, in a small confined area, in addition to the manure, the chickens scratching and tilling things up, and the food scraps you put in there, you're going to create compost a lot faster in this area than you would over here. This takes an entire year basically to break down, we found. This takes just a matter of maybe a couple of months. And if you really want to be active, you can continually put things in here all the way until this fills up. But the beauty of having a 12-inch ring that's tall like this is that it keeps everything in here. All of this chicken run was basically just hills of dried grass clippings and wood chips that we dump in here, and little piles all over, some 2, 3, 4 feet tall, that has just been completely flattened out by the chickens working throughout the day. All they do is walk around and peck and scratch and look for bugs and food, and then it flattens every single thing out. But that doesn't happen with this because they're not able to push it past this metal ring over here. And you can see right now that a lot of this compost and dirt and manure and all these things that are working together to break down has been flattened out, but it's all been maintained in this ring. Let me show you what I do just to get the chickens a little bit more interested in what's going on in here. Right now we have a lot of food scraps because I'm doing a lot of things in the garden right now. It is harvest season. I've dumped a lot of things out from our kitchen that we don't need. So they're interested at the moment, but once they pick through this, they kind of go off and do other things in the run. But if you want to get them more interested again, here's what you do. You simply take a pitchfork, because if there's one thing chickens love, it's piles. Chickens love piles. If you put something in your chicken run that's vertical, I can even see some earthworms in here. That's great. I mean, look how good this stuff looks right here. That is just really good stuff that the chickens help create in just a couple of months. So what I do is I go around the edge of the ring, flip everything up into the middle of this ring, because they're going to flatten it out and spread it out to the edges of the ring. So you don't want to start in the middle, you want to start on the edge and make the pile into the middle. And then eventually, a lot of this stuff can just go straight on the garden in the fall. And if you're worried about it being a little too hot, you don't have to worry about it in the fall, because it'll be after we harvest the crops. It'll be sitting out there all winter, ready to go for the spring. So I just continually go around the edge. You want to get some of this food buried as well so it breaks down. Some of this stuff is too big for them to eat, like this big chunk of cabbage. That'll have to go underneath and get broken down a little bit more. But as soon as I do this and walk away, a lot of those chickens are just going to come running over, and they're going to want to investigate this pile, because I'm opening up a whole bunch of dirt and compost and broken down things that they normally don't have access to, because they're not going to dig 6 inches down. They're just going to scratch the surface. And because this is such a small area, it only takes a matter of minutes to do this. You don't have to come out here and do this every day, maybe just once a week. But it's going to speed up the process, because they're going to go through all this, eat what they can, scratch through it, add some manure, and then, like I said, in a couple of months, a lot of this stuff can go straight onto your garden. As a matter of fact, some of this stuff at the bottom actually looks ready to go on there now if we wanted to, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to be broken down that's around there. We've all had bad soil, we've all had bad things come up in our garden, whether that's just a bad crop or a pest issue. But there's really no reason to have bad soil, especially if you have chickens, because everybody has things they can help to contribute to compost, whether that's just dirt from your backyard that you can add to your chicken run or your food scraps. It's not hard to get chickens. A lot of times you can have chickens, or at least a few hens if the city allows it, if you live in town or in a more urban environment. But if you live out in the country and just want 4 or 5 chickens in a small coop, it's a really easy process to spruce up your garden. I can't imagine having a garden without chickens now that we've had them. I mean, it is possible to have a good garden without chickens. This makes it more self-sustaining, having chickens with our garden, because we don't have to buy compost every year like a lot of people do. We don't have to add fertilizer to our plants. We do in rare situations, but usually we don't do it at all. We just use what the chickens produce naturally to spruce up our garden, and that's one of the reasons why we have success year after year. I hope that by watching this video and seeing a little chicken composter ring, how it speeds up the process, how it turns things into compost in just a matter of a couple of months, I hope that inspires you to try doing something like that with your chickens if you want compost faster and don't want to have to wait the entire time. And hopefully this inspires you to get chickens if you have a garden. If you have a garden that's like average to below average, you're not super satisfied with it, this is a really good way to change that for years to come. Hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching.